DKM, what's up? Welcome to the channel. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure, my pleasure. So before we get into LaMelo and the Hornets, I just want to ask you, uh, what made you get involved with YouTube initially, and why the sports angle with it?
Bro, if we're going into my YouTube story, this video will be half an hour long because I started this when I was like 12 years old. Long story short, I started YouTube when I was like 11, 12 years old as like a gamer towards the end of high school. As you grew out of naturally playing games all the time, the sports games I was uploading back then was like 2K, FIFA and stuff. And I experimented with real life basketball videos, specifically like high school and primarily high school overseas content, stuff like that. And at that point in 2017, that's when Zion was in high school, LaMelo was in high school, and I started making videos on like the ball is life type players, stuff like that, commentary videos, IRL videos. And with me being overseas from the UK, when the Ball family went overseas, it was kind of like fitting when they went to Lithuania. So it was like, okay, I've got this like overseas understanding of how the game works or whatever. And these guys have been covering over there. I've now came over here to European soil. I'm going to gradually start covering them more and more. And from that point onwards, I've been making IRL basketball videos, talking about the game, commentary, breaking it down, news, all kinds of stuff.
What drew your attention, I guess, to from sports in general to the Ball family specifically?
Okay, so there's a multitude of different things. Like I said, at the time, LaMelo specifically, and all those other guys I mentioned, they were like the top players in high school or whatever.
Mhm.
And the thing with LaMelo that like stood out to him and the Ball family specifically, that stood out to me, I apologize, was they would give you like, because they're up to so much stuff and because they're constantly doing things. I mean, there's not really much to talk about like a high school player in news wise. Like, okay, he scored 30 points this game, 20 points. With LaMelo, it's like at that point, it was like he's changing team every 3 weeks. He's bouncing from country to country. And for me personally, I'm from overseas, right? So I don't have any loyalty to any specific franchise or any specific team. I looked at the grand scheme of things in the media, and I've always aspired to be a sports journalist. And my mindset was, okay, all your major outlets, your first takes, your undisputeds or whatever, they can have the NBA. There isn't anything like that really for like high school basketball, like a platform on like a mainstream level that covers it. But the demand for content's there. If you look across the board on all these channels, overtime, whatever, it's like they're pulling in millions of views, and these young players are like they're LeBron James at the high school level, but you've got no one really like covering the game, like breaking it down, analyzing it. So that's what I kind of saw an opportunity there to be, let's say, a Stephen A. Smith or a Skip Bayless, something like that, Adrian Wojnarowski of like the amateur level. And with the Ball family specifically, it was just the media around about 2018 or whatever, they stopped covering them for whatever reason. Like 2017, it was all over ESPN. LeVar said this, all of that. They're going to Lithuania. And for whatever reason, big picture, they had some kind of agenda against LeVar. They stopped doing that. And the demand for the content was still there, but no one was providing it. And it kind of just, I became, let's say, a go-to source for the people who still wanted to know what's happening with LaMelo overseas, what he's doing in Lithuania, what he's doing in LeVar's JBA league and stuff like that. And I guess it kind of just kept growing to where I am today, and I'm still doing it now that he's in the league.
Well, now that he's in the league, I guess it's been pretty great so far. I would say so, at least. For me personally, I never paid much attention to LaMelo specifically. Very much aware of LeVar and like LaMelo and Lonzo and LiAngelo as entities, but I never thought they would play for a team that I followed. And so now that LaMelo's here, I'm kind of doing a lot of backtracking and be like, all right, that's why I was so psyched to watch your documentary on Melo, because I didn't know all that stuff. Like I had a vague understanding. Like I knew he balled out, pardon the pun, in high school, and they had the crazy game and all that, but I didn't really know much about his game. So coming into the draft when the Hornets got the 3rd overall pick, I was like, oh wow, there's a real possibility here where LaMelo can play in Charlotte. So for you, I guess you had I don't like maybe the reverse kind of look at it, where you're following LaMelo and then you're having this like indoctrination into the Charlotte Hornets now, right? So, being new to the Hornets franchise, what do you think about the setup? I know you followed the Hornets beforehand, but paying a lot more close attention to the Hornets now. So, how are you feeling about the Hornets this year? And anything surprise you from LaMelo's involvement and or just any other players on the team?
I feel like with this franchise specifically, a lot of energy, and it's surprising with like the lack of fans in the arena. I really do like this team, and I do get on it like certain things and nitpick here and there in my videos or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But in the grand scheme of things, I feel like this is a fun, exciting young team. They play it like they're entertaining. Whenever I go to watch like the Pelicans games, for instance, if you looked at it on paper, the Pelicans probably have more star power individually than the Hornets. But it's like I'm falling asleep when I'm watching the Pelicans. The Hornets, it's never a boring game. And like you said in one of your at the end of your reaction video, one of the big reasons it is going so well, it's no coincidence how a young player with all that energy has come along. But in terms of the Hornets for this season, I have some personal favorites on the team outside of just Melo. I'm a big fan of Miles Bridges. I love the Airbnb duo.
Yeah.
Shout out New Media. I'm a fan of PJ Washington. I think he's got potential to be like an all-star level role player, if that makes sense. Like not necessarily making the all-star game, but like as a role player, as a third or fourth option on a team, he can be like an elite player for years to come in regards to his role. Terry Rozier, man, has been fourth quarter, bro. That man's people talk about Damian Lillard missed a fourth quarter, but
Yeah.
Terry Rozier has given him a run for his money this season. There you go, bro. Bro, the jerseys I've been trying to get like the blue jersey, bro.
Like this one. So like I have two from this year.
Bro, where do you get that, bro?
Yeah,
where do you get
at the arena? So the team store at the arena. I don't know what the Hornets are doing, by the way. So if you go on the Hornets website and you can still buy last year's jersey at like $100+. I don't know what they're doing and why these jerseys aren't available online with the patches, like the authentic jersey. It's insane. So I don't know what's up with that, but yeah, I got these from the team store. If anyone knows where to get the stuff, like get legit stuff, I've seen some fake stuff on Amazon.
I've been seeing that too. That's why I've not pulled the trigger and bought nothing. Yeah. I found this in a Foot Locker though.
Nice.
Gonna have to make do for now.
I like it. But yeah, it's really weird. I feel like I don't know if it's a demand thing with COVID and they don't want to like they want to be able to super serve the people here. I don't know. Maybe next year they'll get their. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they didn't expect the team to be this good this year, so they didn't have all the.
In the bag, ready. Bro, you know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people. They're like, "Where can I get a Hornets jersey?"
Yeah, it's crazy. They need it. They're really missing out because these things go for like $100 a pop, and that's bread. That's bread they're missing out on.
Bro, they can sell Lithuanian jerseys and Australian jerseys. You best believe that Charlotte Hornets jersey is going to sell.
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. You mentioned. Sorry, I distracted with you mentioned Terry Rozier. And so Miles stands out to you, Terry, PJ, with the current squad. And really, like, I'm really psyched that those guys are getting some shine because not a lot of people paid attention to the Hornets last year. They were a sub 500 team, for fair reason, really. Like, you got to earn it, got to earn the attention. And this year, they've been pretty crushing it. I'm really psyched to see the excitement and attention to the team. Even on the subreddit, like the Hornet subreddit always had good memes, but it's been a level up lately. I don't know if you've checked out any of that stuff. If you're watching this and you haven't checked out the Hornet subreddit, please do. It's amazing. They really embraced the bonk stuff. It's incredible. The evolution of it's mad. Looking forward to the Hornets are in a playoffs position now. How are you feeling about that? Obviously, the trade deadline's coming up in 5 days as we're recording this. I don't think the Hornets are going to do anything. I hope they do. But what do you think the Hornets kind of will finish the year out on? Do you think they make the playoffs? And if they make the playoffs, do you think they can do anything once they're in there?
I think right now the Hornets are probably punching a little bit above their weight as like contending for like the 4th seed or whatever. I do think this team's going to make the playoffs. Between the 6th and 8th seed. I think they'll finish between the 6th and 9th seed, which gives a higher probability of them making the playoffs because you got 6, 7, and 8. And then they're doing the playing game in the East.
Yeah, so like 7, 8, 9, and 10 will be in the play-in game, and then
Okay.
I think 7 plays 8 and 9 plays 10. I think is how it works.
Well, that kind of complicates things a little bit then, because then if you get like the 8th seed, you're not guaranteed to I keep on forgetting that. So in terms of like when you actually get in the playoffs, realistically speaking, it's going to be 4 or 5 games if you're up against the Nets, if you're up against the 76ers or whatever. But in terms of like for this franchise, like I don't think they made the playoffs too many times in the last 20 years. Maybe once or twice, 3 times. I can't imagine it's any more than that. I feel like this is the best Hornets team they've had since the 90s, which was before my time. I can't remember my years following basketball, them having a group like this. So going forward is really promising. As for the trade deadline, I hope they make a move. I think that what's holding this team back is them centers ain't it, bro. Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo, like I'm cool with either of them being like the backup center or whatever, but you need an athletic rim runner with Melo pick and rolls, bro. Like you seen what he's doing with Miles Bridges. You know what I'm saying, unlocking that. If you had like not to say they necessarily are going to go out and get him specifically, but someone like Clint Capella, someone like Miles Turner, or like you were saying on your live stream, someone who you can just throw a lob to, someone who's not going to drop every full court pass.
Yeah.
Because that's be happening, bro. LaMelo's like throwing them Lonzo like inbound passes all the way up the court, and it's a struggle beyond getting up there throwing it down. So I'd like to see them make a move for a big man, but I don't know how likely it is it will happen.
Yeah, like I like Biz. I like Biz for what he offers, rebounding and some type of interior presence. But yeah, it's not a lot offensively. There are instances where he comes out to the top of the key to set a pick, and or like just for a handoff, he'll stand there. He won't even think about facing the basket. He's just looking to hand it off again. If we had a guy that could become a threat at the top of the key and the opposing team know, a guy who the opposing team thinks, okay, this guy could actually shoot versus we know he's not going to shoot. And so we don't need to defend him. That would really open things up for all the other players. So I'm hopeful. Maybe at the very least, I hope they do something in the offseason, but we'll see. We'll see. Long term, beyond this year, I think the Hornets have a really good young core. They have some cap flexibility this offseason. Who knows what will happen with that? But like 3, 4, 5 years down the line, how do you feeling about the Hornets and or LaMelo being involved in the mix?
I think that with any rookie that comes into the league nowadays, you got to really screw it up bad for them and not stay the first 7 years. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're going to have to do something that really unsettles them, really makes them unhappy. And I'm not going to lie, at the start of the season, I saw the writing on the wall for something like that. I felt like, not necessarily with the team specifically, the team's cool, players are cool, whatever. I spoke out a few times about how I didn't like the way they were babying Melo. And when I say that, I'm not talking about like the players or whatever. I'm feeling like I felt they allowed the reputation or perception of LaMelo coming into the league, like on like a mainstream level, affect how they treated him or whatever. I haven't seen too many times moments after a player being drafted top 3 in the draft, the GM coming out like, yeah, he's not promised no minutes. He's going to have to go out there and earn all of them. Typically, when you draft someone that high, they've earned the minutes by being selected as like a top 3 pick. You know what I mean? So, and I feel like they took way too long to put him into the starting lineup. And I'm happy with Devontae now. I mean, he's playing a lot better off the bench.
Yeah.
I and just not giving him the number 1 jersey when Malik Monk had Nicholas Batum went. Malik Monk said on Twitter he'd happily take the number 5, and it's like you're making him number 2 when his whole brand's MB1. Yeah. So at first I was like, I don't know how long he's gonna put up with this, but with the way things are going, with the way the team's playing, with the chemistry he and the guys have there, and Borrego's been. I like Borrego. He's a good coach. And he's overachieving with this team, so I can't get on him too much. But going forward, I like the look of this Hornets team. I think the young core is really promising. Hopefully, things get complicated when you have to pay a bunch of those guys. Yeah. You're gonna have to pick your favorites. Miles Bridges is 3 years into the league. At some point, you're gonna have to pay him. You're paying Gordon Hayward a lot of money for a long time, which Long term, I'm not sure about, but short term, I guess you can't go wrong with it. He's playing great basketball right now. What I'm worried about is 2-3 years down the line with Gordon Hayward, and you're paying him all that money. That's potentially what I'm worried about.
Yeah,
like if that affects you paying like a PJ Washington or something, you know what I'm saying?
right. See, his I'm really curious because we've seen teams draft very well, and the Hornets have drafted very well the last few years since Kupchak's been on board. But the issue is, like you mentioned, you have to pay those guys eventually. That's what happened in OKC. They didn't want to go into the luxury tax, and that crazy team they had, like all-time great players, just was blown up because they didn't go into the luxury tax. And so I'm really curious if MJ will do it. He said he'll do it for a playoff contender. So I want to believe it, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll see. The players need to be the players worth being paid, and it's seeming like they will be. But that's a decision not every NBA owner wants to do it and go into that tax territory. So hopefully, MJ, we know you got it. We know you got it. So hopefully you're gonna willing to spread some bread on the team, keep the young players here and happy. I know like it's pretty rare for a guy to stay with the same team for his entire career. Like some of the all-time greats haven't been only on one team. So I don't know if LaMelo will be here for the long term. I think it's unlikely that he'll only play for the Charlotte Hornets in his career. I hope he's here for the long haul. I'm really excited about what he's brought so far through 40 games or whatever it's been. And I only see it going up here. I think he'll be an all-star next year if he continues on this run. I think he'll get MVP votes. He won't win MVP next year, but if this team is winning and he's performing like this, I think he'll get MVP votes, and it could be an all NBA guy. Like this kid is fire. That's why I bought his jersey. I'm all in on it, and I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm very happy that he's here.
I agree with what you said. In regards to when you talk about players, especially in the modern day, bro, if you even look at like the All-Star game from like 2018, 2019, you're lucky if 2-3 of the players on both teams. I've seen like photos and it's like they're actually wearing their normal jersey at the time. And you got like Chris Paul, Paul George. Yeah. I'm saying all these guys are wearing like, and it's like, damn, you played for like 2-3 teams since then. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. So, but like I said earlier, I think you have to really screw it up for to not have them for the first 7 years. So if you can build like the Bucks, let's say, if you can build enough of a contending team, like if you're like making it to like the Eastern Conference semifinals or finals, and like the year LaMelo's contemplating re-signing with the team or whatever, and you do them right along the way. Heck, if he wants Jello on the Greensboro Swarm, you can get Jello on the Greensboro Swarm. You know what I'm saying? Like, little things like that can go a long way. We saw the Bucks. I mean, they had to make every impression they could on Giannis. So it's like, you know, Thanasis, we'll call you up over from Greece where you're riding the bench. Come be our bench warmer. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, you sign that one max extension after the 7 years. You could have him for like 10 years. So, who knows? I think that's too far away in the future. I think for the foreseeable, though, Melo's going to do big things in Charlotte. And if they play their cards right, they've got some assets. They've got a lot to work with and potentially could make a contending team in the Eastern Conference in the next 3-4 years. I just hope that they make the right decisions. Like, you can easily screw it up. Do you know what I mean? You can easily get rid of the wrong guy, commit long-term to the wrong guy, pay the wrong guy a bunch of money. So they got the blueprint, they got the player, and it all starts with having a superstar. And it seems like they've got that already. That's the hard part. Now it's just building the right team around that said player.
Most definitely. Well, man, those are all my questions. I appreciate you kicking it with me. Is there anything else you want to get into before we say goodbye?
I'm really big on Vernon Carey. I think that was a steal with the 32nd pick. This was a guy who was ranked one of the top players in high school just a year ago before having a solid year at Duke. And he's obviously done really well in the NBA G League. What I'm interested in hearing you as like a Hornets fan, your take on is with the two big men clearly not being it with Biyombo and Cody Zeller, what will it take for someone like Vernon Carey to see minutes on an NBA floor? I know he needs to improve his defense. I understand that, but I'm personally someone who believes you throw someone in the fire and you let them figure it out. Why do you think James Borrego is not giving Vernon Carey a legitimate shot with the Hornets this season?
I think it's because he's trying to make the playoffs and he wants to put his faith in the vets, the guys that are here. This is their last year. Zeller and Biz, they're expiring contracts this offseason. So I think he's giving Nick Richards and Vernon Carey a grace period to learn the NBA and kind of get their NBA bodies right. To that specific point, Vernon Carey, this was heartbreaking for me. Man lost 30 pounds. Imagine losing 30 pounds and then still not playing. Like, I respect the hell out of that commitment to getting his body right, to be more of a meta NBA center. And he said he's worked on a shot in the offseason. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully we can see that in non-garbage time minutes for him. But I think if I'm Borrego and I think this team has playoff aspirations, I'm probably going to be more likely to play the vets. Because compared to last season, Borrego, like, playoffs weren't on the Hornets' minds, and they went all in with the youth. At that point, Marvin Williams was on the team, MKG was on the team, and they're like, nah, we're starting Dwayne Bacon, and we're starting PJ Washington, our younger players. Devontae got a lot of run last year. And that's where we saw him kind of emerge, kind of investing and giving the playtime to the youth. So I think it's a philosophy shift from last year to this year, which leads to the more veteran idea of like a veteran preference in the starting five. But I feel you. I'm like our whole solutions, the Hornets' solutions to the center problem could be sitting there in Vernon Carey, and we haven't really been able to see it. And hopefully we will at some point. As we're recording, I think Zeller was ruled out for the Clippers game. So that leaves Biz as the only legit center that plays available. I know when Zeller's hurt, that means PJ plays the 5. They don't really there's no like next man up with the center. That's kind of like shift things over. So maybe the kids will get involved tonight. But yeah, I feel you. Vernon Carey could be the guy eventually, but Borrego just seems he likes to see the vets take up those minutes with the playoffs.
I feel like Borrego, like, this is one of my pet peeves with him specifically, and I think overall he's doing a really good job with the team. I think with him coming from the Spurs system, right? Yeah. You know what they're all about, playing guys no more than 30 minutes a night, used to drafting because they're always so damn good, like late in the first round, mid-first round, things like that, and like gradually easing gems along there. That's where my issue was with kind of like what he was doing with LaMelo. I feel like in the beginning it was like, let the man go out there and fly, spread his wings. You know what I mean? And I think there might have been some bias towards Devontae. Obviously, Devontae was, let's say, his diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
I quite like. I mean, Devontae Graham. Who was talking about Devontae Graham? Like, everyone last season who wasn't, like you were saying, wasn't really paying attention to the Hornets games. They're like, heck, look at this Devontae Graham guy. He was averaging 4 points per game last year. He's averaging 19. Yeah, this guy could be a future All-Star. And then obviously with the attention to LaMelo, you kind of like start to then pay attention to the Hornets games, and it's maybe like, okay, maybe he's more of a 6-man type role, and obviously could be a starter on a non-playoff team. But I do think there's limitations to what you can accomplish if you have high aspirations with a 5'11", 6'1" point between that range point guard. And in regards to the Charlotte Hornets, right, I got a bonus. I got to ask you something, right?
Yeah, what's up?
And in regards to two players who haven't been mentioned yet, Caleb and Cody Martin. Thoughts and opinions?
So this goes back to the playmaker thing for me. Those guys are role players. I'm gonna do one at Cody. His best attribute is defense, straight up. Like, if he's taking a shot, something from in my head went wrong in the half court. He can dunk. He's good at transition, but if he's taking a corner 3 or something like that with time left on the shot clock, something went wrong. Caleb is a guy who tries just to do a little too much too often, where he's on the court, he's trying to orchestrate things, trying to go 1-on-2 sometimes. Like, what are you doing? Stand in the corner. I like him in the corner shooting threes. That's when Hayward is out, if he gets hurt and Caleb's in the starting 5, that doesn't feel great. And that's another area that probably could use some help as well, the small forward spot. But the Martin twins as eighth or ninth men, that's where they need to be for me, not first off the bench like they were at the beginning of the season. Like they bring value. They're just not. I don't think they're there yet to be high rotation guys.
See, this is my issue with it, right? The Charlotte Hornets, to me, seem to have a bunch of players the same height.
Yeah.
All this possessionless basketball. Everyone trying to play point guard. Everyone bringing the ball up the court and whatnot. And you've not got a legit 7-footer on the team. And the one 7-footer you do have in Cody Zeller might be the least athletic and like 7-footer in the damn league, like in terms of defense and getting up and throwing down lobs. I mean, you beyond, but like everyone's between that 6'7" and 6'9" range, and then you got two undersized guards. And my issue is with the Martin twins, right? I understand they hustle defensively. And that is obviously, I'm cool with one of them coming into the game or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you got the two of them out there at the same time, and I also think when you've got a roster like that, it's wasting a roster spot by having both of them. Why do you need both of them if the two of them, like I said, I can't tell the difference between them on the court. But for me, they seem to do a lot of the same things. Yeah. And anytime I see them, they're catching a rebound, they're putting their head down, trying to run like a one-man fast break like LeBron James. And I'm like, and then they end up getting blocked. And then they're trying to redeem themselves for getting blocked, and they're picking up like the point guard full court. And it's just like, you don't need both of these guys on the team, I don't think. They're too similar. They look the same. And you talk about how one's meant to be like a good shooter and the other one it's a disaster when you're shooting. How do you think it feels for the point guard when both of them are on the court at the same time? It's like, oh, look, he's open in the corner. No, that's Caleb, but that's Cody. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't have both of them out there on the same time with the same damn haircut, the same... Try to be the same person,
and
like,
especially
up
early in the season where Caleb was playing all these minutes over Malik Monk, like that was insane to me. Like the twins were getting that much play time. Now it's shifted. Now Caleb's not playing at all. Cody's the preferred twin at the moment, and Monk and Devontae are getting the minutes. But there were instances last season where Cody Martin became a cult hero, where he was locking down dudes, not for games, just for stretches where he was on the court. And that is where I need him to be, especially because the Hornets' perimeter defense is pretty trash. So Cody being the defense first guy on the perimeter is my ideal role for him. Just pure Bruce Bowen type stuff from him. Like for me, that's his archetype. Stick to that. That's what made Bruce Bowen so great. He was a lockdown defender, and he would stand in the corner and hit a three when the ball came to him. I want that for Cody Martin. That's probably too high of a thing. Bruce Bowen's a multi-time champ. But maybe one day Cody can be that guy. Hopefully, at least.
So I want to ask you the question: if you're keeping one Martin twin, which is it?
Oh, Cody's my guy. I'm a Cody Martin.
Okay, Cody Martin. Okay. See,
because
that's my issue.
Also, because Cody's the one that got a sleeve tattoo, so he's going out of his way to make himself look different than Caleb.
Okay.
He came out
for that in future.
Yeah, he came out of the All-Star break with the sleeve tab. Like, oh my guy, let's go. Thank you. Thanks for looking out.
And then watch Caleb will get the exact same tattoo to match him. Bro, what my issue is, right? And again, I've got quite a few issues, so I'm not going to say my issue as if it's my sole issue, right?
Yeah.
It is that with them two, right? I don't know if coach knows what he's doing with them, because like at the start of the season and preseason, it's like both of them are out there on the court at the same time. That was an absolute disaster. And I'm like, yo, which one of these Martin twins is good? Everyone in my comment section is like, no, Cody's the better brother, Caleb. And then Caleb's playing all these minutes at the start of the season. I'm like, well, what's happened to Cody? And then Caleb's got corona or whatever, and they don't have a player. And somehow Cody, who's had like 10 DNPs all season, is now in the starting lineup ahead of Miles Bridges, or something. And I'm like, what? And then Cody's playing all these minutes now, and now Caleb's not getting on the court.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and Malik Monk had all these DNPs at the start of the season. He wasn't getting no minutes. He comes along, has a massive role with the team now. Just like, do you pick your personal favorites? You know what I mean? Like, have your guys, because it interchanges too much with this team. Like, specifically with those two guys and role players. It's like,
yeah, it's really weird. It's really weird because it can't be easy not knowing where you stand in the team and how many minutes you're gonna be playing, and you're calling on these guys to get hot when they don't know if they're gonna play for long stretches. That's why I respect the hell out of Malik Monk. You play 20 minutes one night and then not play at all for 4 games. Like, that's insane. Yeah. And he's totally healthy, but like during that stretch as well. Like, that can't. And he spoke about his frustration. And I'm glad things are working out. The Hornets have a decision to make with him this offseason, restricted free agent. I need them to lock him up, like keep him here, because he's a guy that if he goes to a different situation could really cause problems. Like he could be a 6-man of the year candidate if the Hornets mess this up, and we won't reap the benefits of.
On his game, he's unplayable. On his game, he's unplayable.
Yeah, he's a perfect microwave guy.
Perfect. And in the game, like J.R. Smith, the game needs those type of guys. Guys who aren't going to consistently be that like 30 point a game scorer, but on any given night they can be. And so I guess that brings me to my final question is, outside of LaMelo, right? Because he's your keeper long term. And by the way, the last thing I'm going to say on the Martin twins, it wasn't too long ago that one of the Martin twins played more minutes than LaMelo Ball. I do not think that is excusable in any way, shape, or form, given that shouldn't be happening, right? You've got LaMelo, obviously he's your keeper, he's your untouchable.
Right.
And then you have Rozier, Graham, and Malik Monk. Now these three guys, right? Obviously, Rozier has kind of separated himself from those two this season. He's kind of taken his game to another level or whatnot. But then on the other side of the sword, you can also say, well, you get the most trade value for Rozier because he's playing so well.
Yeah.
With these guys, there's not been much in it, like between the three of them. They can all shoot, score. You're saying you want to lock up Malik Monk long term.
Yep.
I don't know what you want to do with Terry Rozier. And I don't know what you want to do with Devontae Graham. So if Melo's a keeper, Malik Monk's a keeper, who between Devontae and Terry Rozier do you package and get the hell up out of Charlotte?
If we're talking right now, I would trade Devontae over Terry. I keep Terry. Terry's been too key. We have him under contract this year and next year. Next year's contract's $19 million for him. And so if they want to flip him then at that point, fair play. But Devontae, he's another guy they have to make a contract decision on. That's a scary proposition because you don't know which Devontae you'll be paying. Are you paying for last year's Devontae or this year's Devontae long term? And that kind of question is a little unsettling for me. So if I have to trade one of the two, I trade Devontae. You probably can't get as much for him. Because his contract won't line up perfectly with a guy that can contribute because he's on a smaller rookie deal. And then also, he's not playing as well as Terry Rozier. But Terry's been way too key, way too clutch for the Hornets this year. So, I think Malik can do what Devontae's doing, if I'm honest with you. Like, I feel like that's a little redundant off the bench.
Do you think Malik could potentially, at some point, do what Terry Rozier is doing?
Oh, yeah. As a clutch player, hell yeah. Maybe not for a full game, but I do like when Melo and Monk are on the court at the same time. I love that.
Definitely.
I love that. Those guys back in the backcourt. Monk is very sneaky, like athletically. Like his leaping ability is insane. And LaMelo, Monk, and Bridges on the floor at the same time. That is a Lob City lineup that needs to play more together. That's my favorite setup right now. Those guys on the court, because at any point a lob can go up, and either of them can, Bridges or Monk, can go up and get it.
So then this is what I'm saying to you, right? So, and here's what I'm factoring. This is the dilemma I'm stuck with. Yes, Terry Rozier has been absolutely sensational this season, especially in the fourth quarter, right?
Yeah.
Some people will look at it. Terry Rozier is potentially playing for a move.
Yeah,
he's like trade deadline contenders, come get me type thing. Devontae appears to be like, no, I want to be in Charlotte, with him being on the bench, vocal with the team, obviously a favorite of Borrego. And you talk about how you like that lineup so much with Miles, Melo, and Malik Monk.
Mm-hmm.
But Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier, paying them all that money, you're never really going to see that. I don't know if Miles Bridges is ever going to get a starting role with this team, no matter how good he plays, because you're paying Gordon Hayward all that money. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Would you ever potentially trade Gordon Hayward if, let's say, the Indiana Pacers came up with a proposal or whatever? It's like, we'll take Gordon Hayward, Miles Turner, and a pick. I don't know if that's a legit trade that could happen. I don't know if that works out with the salary. I'm just talking in theory, like a kind of move like that where you get the big man that you're seeking and the payment works out whatever, and you give up Gordon Hayward, is that something you'd look to do?
Yeah, if not, I wouldn't do it in the next 2 years because I like Hayward a lot. But when and when his contract has $60 million left over 2 years, like that becomes way more tradable. Like it's a lot of money over a long $30 million over 4 years is a lot, but $30 million over 2 years isn't that bad. So that becomes a way more tradable contract 2 years into the deal. And at that point, the team will have a better idea of like what it is. I like Gordon's game. He's very quiet with it.
You don't notice he scores 20 points. It's like,
he like has
Gordon Hayward's got 25.
Yeah, like I have 20 points or like 6 rebounds, 8 assists. That's out of nowhere. Like what? When did that happen? And I think he's been pretty influential in the locker room. I think he's the oldest player in the locker room at 30, and which is really needed. He's been in playoff games. Him and Terry have been in the playoffs, been in important games. Zeller and Biz technically have too, but those. Zeller's like that. Those games are a little different.
And his backside handed to him by the Miami Heatles.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh man. But yeah. So I wouldn't trade Hayward in the next 2 years. After that, yeah, because he'd be 32. You'll have $60 million left, and I think that's a more likely like trade piece at that point if they want to go that route. But he's loving life here in Charlotte. He's taking the most shots he's ever taken in his career here because he's the guy here for the most part in the offense. And even with the injuries, they haven't been too bad. It's an injury here, one or two injuries here and there. He's only missed like a handful of games. So I'm in on Hayward. I like him.
So yeah, last thing I'm going to say on that is the reason I brought up that question is because it's like those two guys and potentially trading them. It's like you talk about trading Devontae, but what the hell are you going to get for Devontae in the last year of his contract? I don't know if he's restricted or whatever, but they also have that contract decision coming up with him not playing well. And how many players can you get better than Devontae on that kind of deal? Do you know what I mean? Who are making that little money because he was like a second round pick or whatever. So I think he's harder to move. He's got less value. So that's why I think if you're talking about a big man or something that this team so desperately needs, is like you might have to look at someone else.
Yeah, I just want a like for like positional change. So like say Devontae is a 7 out of 10. All right. As a guard, I want a 7 out of 10 front court player, just a like for like guy in a different position. Doesn't have to be a starter or superstar, just like whatever you want to. Like if it's 2K, like an 80 overall Devontae for an 80 overall center or power forward, just to have a little more depth in the front court. Because Devontae, I think you'll get his bird rights as well. So if anyone trades for him, they can offer him above any other team as well going into the offseason. So there is some value there. I guess it really has to be the right team that really needs a guard. Guards are really easy to come by in today's game. Like there's a really premium on the front court players that can do, because a lot's being asked. I mean, you need to be able to defend, you need to be able to shoot as a front court guy now. You can't just be a rebounder or shot blocker nowadays. So those are harder to come by. But so maybe the Hornets will have to dip into their future first round pick bag and pull something off. But I don't know. Also, part of me doesn't want them to do anything. Just ride it out. I like the chemistry of the team. The team is in the playoff position right now. So, like, there's not really a pressing move. They're not going to win a title this year anyway. So, like, who could they trade for that would make them a title contender? Joel Embiid? Like, it'd have to be an insane player for that to happen.
It'd have to be, like, AD or something. Like
So that's not happening, right? So like,
even still, like, you're lucky if you get past them. You're not getting past them Nets, bro. You're not.
Oh no, and if you do, you're gonna hit some monster team in the West. Like it's a rip for this Hornets franchise as far as any title hopes anytime soon. Awesome, bro. I appreciate you kicking it with me.
Bro, like I said, bro, I came across like some of them live streams, like in between like watching the game or whatever. I watched the Ashley interview. I've seen some of your videos, and of course, it's good to have like a lot of the people that like I follow and I'm in tune with. It's kind of like primarily like LaMelo first Hornet supporters. So it's like what I'm trying to do is with my coverage or whatever. It's interesting to hear the perspective from genuine Hornets fans and people who were rocking with the team before the circus arrived, and that's rare to come by, especially on social media when, hey, the only thing you see of the Hornets is related to Mel. So I hold your opinion and your takes and understanding of like the game and the Hornets quite seriously. Something like I said, you put me onto some game right here, which maybe going forward I'll consider in my next videos.
All right.
So yeah, I appreciate you for having me on, of course, and I'll be in touch.